Eliot Roth at 2025 Penfield Road. My name is Chris Chichester. You, Eliot, know exactly my identity here in Penfield, New York. You know exactly who I am because I've lived next to you at your business at 2025 Penfield Road called Consumer Insights. So, Eliot, one day I'm walking through the parking lot that I've walked through 4,000 times. And you, Eliot, are standing right here. And you have this misanthropic smile on your face. You're taking pleasure in what you're about to say to me. And you, Eliot, say to me, you're going to be arrested. And you, Eliot, know I have zero idea what you're talking about. I do not know what you're talking about. I am absolutely in disbelief. How am I going to be arrested? Because I've never been arrested. And in the 30 years since I was honorably discharged as a 22-year-old Sergeant E5 from 2nd Squadron, 17th Cavalry, 101st Airborne Engineer Assault, Fort Campbell, Kentucky, I have one speeding ticket. So what do you think about those 30 years, Eliot? Those 30 years signify that I've always known the difference between legal and illegal, right and wrong, justice and injustice. I have always known what constitutes a crime. And how is it a crime, Eliot, to walk through this parking lot? So there you are. And I'm looking at you in total confusion. And after you say this to me, I continue to walk through the parking lot, just like my excellent friend who lives next to me, just like Penfield High School students, just like the elderly woman across from me at Sanders Farm Drive that walks through this parking lot. So I walk down the sidewalk as I'm going to Gold's Gym. And I'm thinking about what you said to me. And it does not register at all because I have never committed a crime. Now, Eliot, why did you say to me you're going to be arrested? You know the answer, Eliot. Because that's your building at 2025 Penfield Road. Now, pay attention, Eliot. What's that called there? You see it? That's a camera. And a camera, especially this camera here, that's called a surveillance device. And I was on it. So, Eliot, I will tell the United States Department of Justice, the employees at the United States Department of Justice in the Division of Civil Rights, that Sheriff Todd Baxter's fanatics, degenerates, sociopaths, and criminals came to your building in 2025 Penfield Road and affixed this surveillance device on it for me, because that's the conclusion anyone in my position would reach. You know that they were there and they're going to concoct a crime for me. That's what I'm going to tell the United States Department of Justice. What do you think about what I just accused you of? I accused you of being a disgusting human being. Because, Eliot, if the roles were reversed, and I've said this on a previous YouTube, and I don't know if you watch it, I don't know if anybody watches it. But, Eliot, if I worked at 2025 Penfield Road and the Monroe County Sheriff Office employees such as $67,000 Shannon Meyer told you that you would be arrested and you lived at 26 Sanders Farm Drive, I would immediately come over to where you lived and tell you. I would tell you, they're trying to concoct a crime for you. They're trying to get you in handcuffs, even though you're not committing a crime. Because I wouldn't want to see your civil and constitutional rights abridged by fanaticism and hatred and corruption. And it wouldn't matter what I think about you. I shouldn't have to tell you what I think about you. You should be able to figure it out by now, what I think about your character and your decency and your integrity. You should be able to figure that out. Some things are better left unsaid, and that's one of these moments right now. So, Eliot, who told you I was going to be arrested at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, was the $67,000 Shannon Meyer. When did they put this camera on the building? Did the Monroe County Sheriff's Office put this camera on this building, also called a surveillance device? That's what I will tell the United States Department of Justice. If, in fact, that is incorrect, and this camera was already on your building, and they used the technology to capture the video image of me, then tell me, what's the answer? This is the sick lunatic fringe, Eliot. You could walk through this parking lot, Eliot, without being arrested. Why? Do you have a different 14th Amendment right to equal protection of the laws, or a different civil and constitutional right than me? Are you a different American than I am? Are you a different American than my neighbor or the elderly woman across the street? I mean, do we have different civil and constitutional rights? Do certain parts of the United States Constitution apply to you that don't apply to me? Are you protected by the Bill of Rights? Am I not protected by the Bill of Rights? Are you protected by the United States Constitution from the fanatical cops? And I'm not protected by the United States Constitution from the fanatical cops. So they know at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office that I walked through this parking lot and want to nail me to the wall and concoct the crime for me. Because, Eliot, this is what you're next to with Nairaj and Layla Kumar Shah. Have you ever talked to these two? Nairaj and Layla Kumar Shah? Have you ever had any conversation with these two? This is a 50-plus-year-old man living with a 70-plus-year-old mother. There's something radically wrong with these two. And if you have ever talked to your neighbors, because they're within 20 yards of you, you should be able to determine that they are sick and ill and bankrupt. So, Eliot, how's it a crime to walk through that parking lot? Who put that camera on your building at 2025 Penfield Road? Who told you at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office that I was to be arrested? Do I have civil and constitutional rights in Penfield, New York? Eliot Roth lives and works in Penfield, New York. Pardon me, works in Penfield, New York. I don't know where you live. That's none of my business. So, how's it a crime to walk through that parking lot, Eliot? Well, what they did, Eliot, Broccolo Tree Lawn Care cuts the grass for your house. Have you ever met this weasel, Steve Desmond, this loser? This is what happened. Because this guy works for Broccolo Tree and Lawn Care, and he cuts the grass for your business, Consumer Insights. Perhaps he's been in your business. Because here's the guy in his tractor with a long gray beard. Here's Desmond in the parking lot. This is what they're doing at the Jonestown, the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, to get me in handcuffs. Desmond is here in your parking lot. The guy in his tractor's here, but he's not cutting grass that day, Eliot. And when you said to me, you're going to be arrested, this is what they're planning to do to me, and the word is planning. Here's Desmond here. The guy's here. I come outside, stand right here and say, nobody owns Atlanta, walk back in my residence. How's that a crime? How's that possibly a crime? Lori and Albert Broccolo and your disgusting, repulsive employee working with Shannon Meyer of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office and her $67,000 salary. How's that a crime? That's not a crime. How could that possibly be a crime? You, Lori and Albert Broccolo and Steve Desmond can all walk through this parking lot without being arrested. Why? Why won't you be arrested? Eliot, what's that called on your building? What is that called? It's called a surveillance device. And I'm demanding the video image of me that was on the phone of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee the first time they were here to violate my civil and constitutional rights. And I haven't been provided the video image, which means, Todd Baxter, that you're either withholding the evidence in my case or you destroyed it. So which crime are you committing, you bald-headed, party-switching, fascist, stooge, fraud, and criminal, Todd Baxter? Freedom of Information Law. I've sent this to them 50-plus times, 100-plus times. I've lost track of the number. The cost of a surveillance device purchased with taxpayer dollars by Monroe County Sheriff Todd K. Baxter and fixed to a building at 2025 Benford Road to monitor for Christopher Child's 26 Sanders Farm Drive, walks through the parking lot next to the building. You know what happened when I sent this to them? Because I used the phrase surveillance device. And Eliot, now that I've seen the images and I always knew it was one, what's that called? I accurately described the lunatic fringe that Sheriff Todd Baxter plants his ass upon. And then the lunatic fringe of Sheriff Todd Baxter descends on me because I used the phrase surveillance device, and one of these parasites, these disgusting, vile human beings at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, called Lindsay Barron at the Monroe County Office of Mental Health to come to my residence. And she's been here multiple times. And one time is because I use this phrase surveillance device. Because Todd Baxter knows that there are mentally ill individuals in the United States of America that believe they're under surveillance by the government, and they are not under surveillance by the government. And he can engage in the humiliation of me by calling Lindsey Barron, the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, to come to my house. So I finished my run one day. I always finish on Willow Pond Way. You can see that stop sign there. And then I walk down Sanders Farm Drive to the residence, which is only 4 houses away. So I finish. And as I begin to walk, I see Lindsey Barron from the Monroe County Office of Mental Health, Eliot, walking onto my front lawn. I turn around immediately and I start to run again because I don't want any part of this freak show that is bald-headed Todd Baxter and his fanatics, degenerates, sociopaths, and criminals. And she sees me. So I make a left on Willow Pond Way, and I continue to run, and here she comes in the Monroe County Sheriff's Office vehicle. I'm running here this way. Here's the Monroe County Sheriff's Office vehicle. And Lindsey Barron, as I'm running, I just want to talk to you, Chris. I'm running. I just want to talk to you, Chris. I'm running. I just want to talk to you, Chris. I'm running like this and looking at this woman. And I'm thinking, what is she doing here? This is a taxpayer-supported public employee coming to my house because I used the phrase surveillance device that bald-headed criminal Todd Baxter bought and affixed to your building, Eliot Roth, 2025 Penfield Road. So as I'm running, I'm looking at her. I just want to talk to you, Chris. And I finally had to stop. And she gets out of the car. And I said, we're not going to have a conversation. I don't have any time for you ever. Leave me alone. I continued to run. And she did leave me alone because she could see how angry I was. And I was trying to compose myself like I am now. Because when I'm on here, I am angry. And I'm angry now. And I try not to demonstrate it. And I was talking to her the same way I'm talking to you now. Where I'm trying to control myself. Because I have never committed a crime. And this disgusting, vile, sick, bankrupt Monroe County Sheriff's Office has been descending on me for 18 months. So I ran away, Eliot. Why don't you just come over to my residence and tell me they put that camera on that building? Because you wanted to see me arrested, that's why. That's exactly why. You're taking pleasure in what they're going to do to me for any number of reasons. I remember once I was walking my little guy, I adopted from Lollipop Farm, and you took out your phone and you were filming me. I'm standing there with my little guy, and then you are filming me because I was alongside the residents here. I was right here, Eliot. And then you were standing over here, and then you come over here, and there you are filming me. You're filming me with your phone as I'm over here. I'm walking my little guy, Eliot. Why are you filming me as I'm walking my little guy? I went back into my residence, and I'm thinking, there is something radically wrong with the employees of this business at 2025 Penfield Road. All I'm doing is walking my little guy. They came here to seize my little guy. This vicious confrontation I've described multiple times of Monroe County Sheriff's Office employees standing at my door demanding my dog when all I'm doing is walking in the same way. And as I'm standing there, I'm thinking, do these two Monroe County Sheriff's employees own dogs? And what would they think if the police showed up at their residence to demand their dog when all they're doing is walking their dog the same way? And I slammed the door in their faces. My mom and dad bought me this dog bed for my little guy. And I went back and I picked him up and he was shaking. I had to keep it together. When I picked him up and put him on his shoulder, when I pick him up and put him on my shoulder, I would do that whenever I would come home because he would run at me to the door. I'm sure if you have a dog, you have the same 10,000 boring dog stories that I have. And when I picked him up, I never felt him shake like that before. And he was shaking on my shoulder, my little guy, because of this confrontation by these psychopaths at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office that put this camera on the building at 2025 Penfield Road to concoct a crime for me. The psychopaths at my front door demanding my little guy, Eliot, are the same psychopaths that put this camera on your building. And then when I was calling it the surveillance device, as I mentioned, this Lindsey Barron's come to my house, and now I finally see the images. I'm not committing a crime at any point. They're concocting crimes for me. This disgusting, sick descent on my life by this bald-headed fascist stooge, fanatic, and degenerate Todd Baxter. I have, Eliot, never had hatred for the police. I worked at Albany in the Capitol for 7 years. I used to see the New York State Troopers. I've ridden with the New York State Troopers in a detail. Once I went to Binghamton with my boss, Governor George Psaki. The governor gave a speech at Binghamton, and I went in the third vehicle. I usually didn't travel with the governor. And I was there with the troopers, and I was talking to them. And I would see the detail every day when I worked in the press office. I was a spokesman for the governor. And I would see them, and I would occasionally talk to them. So I've been around them every day. And I just let them do their jobs. Just like all the other staff. It wasn't just me. You knew they were doing their jobs. You left them alone. They have a job to do. It is security. And they don't need some staff for talking to them. And I never looked at the police in hatred. And I would see the police on the second floor. That's where the governor's offices are. And then I would see the state troopers on the third floor, which is where the majority leader. I also worked for the majority leader for 4 years. And so I would see them throughout the Capitol all the time, every day, the New York State Police, which is the detail for the governor. And certain senators, and given certain things the majority leader would do. I never had any hatred for police. When I worked on Capitol Hill, I worked for Congressman Lawrence Smith, the Senator Olympia Snowe, and I'd go to the House Rayburn building and the Senate Russell office building, and I'd see the Washington, D.C. police. I'd see the Capitol Police. They have different responsibilities, the city police and the Capitol Police. They're just doing their jobs. It's what anybody would think. Now I have hatred for the police. If I was to have my same employment again, given the experience I have now, I would look at the police in Washington, D.C., and I have hatred for the police. I would look at the state troopers in the Capitol in Albany, and I would think they're putting screws to innocent citizens, concocting crimes for innocent citizens, because that's what they do. And what they do is put a camera on a building, your building, for me to concoct a crime, but I'm not committing a crime. Come to my house, take my little guy, and they attack me. That's why I have this check. I don't know if you watch what I'm saying, but I go to Canandaigua National Bank. I had $21.39 in my pocket. I would choose $40 to bring it up to $61.39. I walk back down Penfield Road. I make a right. I walk right by your building, Eliot. Your building's to my left this day. And I looked at, as I always do, if I ride my bike, if I run, if I walk, I'll look at that camera to remind myself to be motivated. And I am motivated. So I walk by your building. I look at your camera just like I always do. I make a left on Willow Pond when I get to Wegmans. 5 of their fanatics, degenerates, and sociopaths. 5 vehicles. And 10 of their fanatics, degenerates, and sociopaths converged upon me. It was at least 10. There was more. One of them gets out, runs at me, lower his shoulder, knocks me to the ground, and my head slammed against the concrete pavement. That's why this says Rochester Regional Health right here. Your imaging was moral. Todd Baxter's taxpayer-supported public employee delivered me to the MRI tube. Todd Baxter. What's his name? Todd Baxter. Your employee committed a crime upon me. What's his name? And there's no accountability for you, you bald-headed stooge. That's why you will refuse to tell me. If I asked you 1,000 times, you bald-headed stooge, what's the name of your taxpayer-supported public employee that attacked me next to the pharmacy entrance of Wegmans when there were 10-plus witnesses that are Monroe County Sheriff Office employees? You will refuse to tell me every single time, you bald-headed stooge. They came into my house, Eliot, with a search warrant. It's not a search warrant. Isn't that right, Lee LaRoque? I've said this numerous times now. This is not a search warrant. I'll tell the United States Department of Justice that you, Lee LaRoque, were in here with your blue gloves and you exited with my Chromebook. So, Eliot, did Shannon Meyer at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office tell you I was to be arrested? What's the name of the employee, Eliot Roth, at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office that told you I was to be arrested when I was walking through the parking lot here next to your building at 2025 Penfield Road for the 4,000th time? Eliot Roth. I hope what has happened to me never happens to you.